Today, we're diving into a pretty radical idea called the sovereign household. And look, this isn't just another lifestyle trend. We're talking about a blueprint for a fundamental structural shift in the actual economics of how we all live. Let's get into it. So, let me start with a question for you. Think about your home right now. Is it really an asset you own? Or, if you're being honest, does it feel more like a subscription service you literally can't cancel? You know, a bundle of ever-increasing fees for rent, utilities, and services that you have absolutely zero control over. And that's exactly why the idea we're exploring today says we need to stop thinking about this as just a lifestyle choice, like deciding to move to the country. Forget that. Instead, we need to frame it as a structural shift, a deep foundational change in the economic engine of the household itself. Okay, so that brings us to our first really key point. This is not about the tiny home trend. It's not about the romance of off-grid living. The argument here is that this is about enabling something much bigger, something called household sovereignty. So what in the world is household sovereignty? Well, think of it like this. It's a household's ability to operate with maximum independence. It really boils down to two things: slashing your fixed costs to the bone and breaking free from your dependency on utility companies, landlords, and all those other monopolies. All right, so how do you actually achieve that? Well, the whole concept rests on creating what's called a closed-loop household. And this isn't about just one product. It's an integrated, two-part system that basically creates its own self-contained infrastructure. And here are the two core pieces of the puzzle. First, you've got an off-grid house, in this case, a product called the YHauz, and second, an electric truck. Now, on their own, they're just innovative products, right? But put them together and they create a seriously powerful, self-sustaining system. So let's look at that first component, the off-grid house. By operating totally independently of the utility monopolies, you're suddenly immune to those escalating fees, immune to the risk of grid failures. And this is the critical point. It converts housing from that endless subscription service into a self-contained system that you actually own and you control. Now, for the second half of the equation, and this is where it gets really interesting, the EV truck isn't just a nice-to-have. It's presented as absolutely essential infrastructure. It's your mobile battery for the house. It's your backup generator that doesn't need fuel. And it's the logistics engine that makes relocation even possible. It's all about resilience. And that's the synergy right there. The house gives you shelter, the truck provides energy, mobility, and resilience. Put them together and you get that single, integrated, closed-loop system we were talking about. So why use such a big word like frontier? Well, because the whole argument is that this system unlocks land and economic opportunities that were basically impossible to use before. We're talking about places where the cost to connect to the grid or other services just made living there a non-starter. You see, according to the source material, a true economic frontier isn't just a vague idea. It has three specific conditions. You need low fixed costs to even get started, you need high autonomy to operate freely, and you need weak incumbents, meaning no powerful gatekeepers who can shut you out. This system is designed to check all three of those boxes. And if you think about it, this pattern isn't new at all. It actually echoes other great American frontiers. In the 1800s, it was the wagon and the homestead that opened the West. In the 1950s, the car and the suburban house created the suburbs. In the 90s, the internet enabled the whole digital frontier of remote work. The claim here is that the EV truck and the off-grid YHauz are simply the tools for the next one. So what makes this new frontier different? Well, it tries to solve a huge problem from the past. As the source says, it restores independence without isolation and mobility without precarity. The whole goal is to finally get both freedom and security at the same time. And this brings us to the core economic reason this is so appealing to so many people: finally escaping the rent loop. The framing here is so important. This strategy isn't about protesting the system, it's about creating a viable path to just exit. And this is the exact trap it's designed to break. You know the one I'm talking about? That dependency chain where high rent forces you into a long commute, which then racks up costs for gas and insurance, all while keeping you chained to one specific location just for your job. So what does this actually do for your wallet? Well, by turning those endless monthly services into products you can own outright, it fundamentally lowers the amount of income you need to live a stable life. And by slashing your cost of living, it dramatically increases the real power of every dollar you earn. The core economic argument is that this whole thing isn't about fighting for a raise. It's about changing the game entirely. The YHauz system, as the quote says, lowers the cost of living by making housing a manufactured product. It transforms it from this protected, unpredictable service into something predictable, like buying a car or a computer.
Okay, let's zoom all the way out to the final and maybe the most profound idea in all of this. This is about restoring the household as the core economic unit in society, not just a place where we consume things. The source argues that the household is the atomic level of the economy. It's the smallest, most fundamental building block. And if you can change the economic structure of that single atom, well, you can trigger a chain reaction that ripples all the way up through the entire economy. And this is what that change actually looks like. Your home stops being a cost sink, a place you just pour money into, and it becomes a productive asset. It's a hedge against inflation. It's a platform you can build on for work or even for rental income. Households stop being just passive workers and consumers, and they start becoming active economic units, what the source calls micro-balance sheets. And we'll end on this quote, which just pulls the entire concept together so well. It's not just a house and a truck. It's a self-reliant household platform. It's a whole new frontier for anyone who's looking to live, work, and own things outside of those old rent-extractive systems. It's a really bold vision. And it leaves us with one final thought. What happens when a new frontier is opened? People start to settle it.